It started at exactly 12:07 a.m. Not 12:06, not 12:08, always 12:07. The first time it happened, I thought it was just a glitch. My phone lit up on the nightstand, vibrating loudly against the wood, even though I hadn't set any alarm. The room was pitch dark, the kind of darkness that feels heavier than usual, like the walls are closing in. I reached out, half asleep, and squinted at the screen. There was no alarm label, no app open, just a single line of text. "Don't look behind you." My fingers froze midair. For a moment, I just stared at it, trying to process what I was seeing. I hadn't typed that. No one had access to my phone. I lived alone. I swallowed, forcing a dry laugh under my breath. "Okay, not funny," I muttered, even though there was no one there to hear it. The vibration stopped. Silence swallowed the room again. I turned off the screen and lay back down, pulling the blanket up slightly, trying to convince myself it was nothing. A glitch. A weird notification. Maybe some app bug. Then I felt it. Not heard. Not seen. Felt. A presence behind me. Close enough that the air near the back of my neck felt occupied. My entire body went rigid. My brain screamed at me to turn around, to check, to prove there was nothing there. But that message replayed in my head. "Don't look behind you." I didn't move. Seconds passed. Or minutes. I couldn't tell. Then, right next to my ear, so close I could feel the faintest brush of breath. Good. I stopped breathing. There was no way to explain it. No way to rationalize it. The voice wasn't loud. It didn't echo. It was quiet, calm, almost satisfied. And it was right behind me. I squeezed my eyes shut, every muscle locked in place, too terrified to even flinch. Eventually, exhaustion must have taken over, because the next thing I remember was waking up to sunlight pouring through the window. Morning felt normal. Too normal. No messages on my phone. No sign anything had happened. If it wasn't for the lingering tension in my chest, I would have convinced myself it was just a dream. But it wasn't. Because the next night, at exactly 12:07 a.m., it happened again. I had just started settling into the apartment a few days earlier. It was cheap, suspiciously cheap for its size and location, but I didn't question it too much. The building was older, sure, but not run down. Just quiet. Almost too quiet. The landlord had been eager to close the deal. No long paperwork. No unnecessary questions. When I asked why the previous tenants left so suddenly, he shrugged and said, "Personal reasons." That answer felt incomplete, but I ignored it. Now I was starting to understand why. On the second night, I stayed awake on purpose. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I needed to prove that what I experienced wasn't real. 12:05 a.m. I sat on my bed, staring at my phone. 12:06. Nothing. 12:07. The screen lit up. My heart dropped instantly. This time, I didn't even touch it. I just watched as the same black screen appeared with white text forming slowly, letter by letter. "You're still here." A cold wave washed over me. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. "No, this is not real." The phone vibrated again. Another line appeared. "Don't turn around." My throat tightened. I hadn't moved. I was sitting upright, facing the wall, my back exposed to the rest of the room. And once again, that feeling returned. That impossible, undeniable sensation that someone was standing directly behind me. Closer this time. Close enough that I could feel warmth. Close enough that if I moved even an inch backward, I might touch it. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay still. My breathing turned shallow, uneven. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to jump off the bed, to flip around and face whatever was there. But something deeper, more primal, held me in place. Because I knew, if I looked, something would change. Minutes dragged by like hours. Then, from somewhere behind me, I heard it. A soft, deliberate sound. A footstep. Then another. Not walking away. Walking closer. I couldn't take it anymore. "What do you want?" I said, my voice barely holding together. Silence. Then the phone vibrated again. I slowly glanced down. "You already know." My chest tightened. "No, I don't," I whispered. Another message. "You'll remember." That's when something else happened. Something worse. Across the room, on the opposite wall, there was a mirror. I hadn't paid much attention to it before. It was just part of the apartment, mounted there, slightly tilted. But now, I could see it from the corner of my eye. And in that reflection, I wasn't alone. I froze completely. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light. A shadow. My brain trying to make sense of the fear. But shadows don't stand upright. Shadows don't have shape. And they definitely don't stand directly behind you. It was tall, slightly hunched. Its outline was wrong, like a human figure stretched in unnatural ways. Its head tilted at an angle that didn't make sense. And it wasn't looking at the mirror. It was looking at me. I could feel its gaze without turning. I could see it through the reflection. And slowly, its head moved. Not toward the mirror, toward me. My heart slammed violently in my chest. "No," I whispered. The thing in the mirror smiled. Not a normal smile. Too wide, too slow, like it was learning how to do it. My breathing broke into panic. I squeezed my eyes shut, shaking my head. This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. When I opened them again, the reflection was normal. The room was empty. I was alone. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true, because something had changed, and whatever was behind me was no longer staying in the mirror. The next morning, I didn't feel relieved. That was the first thing that told me something was seriously wrong. Usually, fear fades with daylight. Logic comes back. You start explaining things away. But this time, the fear stayed. Not intense, not overwhelming. Just sitting there in the background, like a constant hum inside my head. I avoided the mirror. I didn't even realize I was doing it at first. Every time I walked past it, my eyes would shift away automatically, like some instinct was trying to protect me from seeing something I wasn't ready for. Get a grip, I told myself, forcing a dry laugh. It's just stress. But even as I said it, I didn't believe it. I spent most of the day trying to distract myself, scrolling on my phone, watching random videos, anything to avoid thinking about the night. But no matter what I did, my attention kept drifting back to one thing. 12:07. By evening, a quiet dread had settled in. I told myself I wouldn't stay. I'd go out, spend the night somewhere else, maybe crash at a friend's place. That was the logical move. But when I stood near the door, keys in hand, I couldn't leave. Not because something stopped me physically, but because something in my head whispered, "If you leave, it'll follow." I froze. That thought didn't feel like mine. I stepped back slowly, my grip tightening around the keys, then loosened, and I set them down. "I'm overthinking," I muttered, but my voice lacked conviction. Night fell faster than I expected, and before I knew it, 12:06, I was standing in the living room, deliberately facing away from everything, my back to the entire apartment. My phone was in my hand, screen off, like I was waiting for it. 12:07. The vibration hit instantly. I didn't need to look. I already knew. Still, I forced myself to glance down. The screen was black again. White text. "You didn't leave." My stomach twisted. Another line appeared. "Good." A cold wave ran through me. "Stop," I said louder this time. "Just stop." The phone vibrated again. "Turn around." My heart skipped. "No. Turn around." "I'm not doing that." The air behind me shifted. It was subtle, but undeniable, like something had moved closer, closer than before. I could feel the space behind me shrink. My breathing grew uneven. "You said not to turn around," I whispered. There was a pause. Then, that was before. Every nerve in my body lit up with fear. This didn't make sense. None of it made sense. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay still. "I'm not playing this," I said, trying to sound firm. Silence. For a moment, I thought maybe it was over. Then, something brushed against the back of my hand. I jerked forward with a gasp, dropping my phone. It hit the floor with a loud crack, the screen flickering as it landed face up. New text appeared. "You feel me now." My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I backed away quickly, putting distance between myself and whatever had touched me. My eyes darted around the room, but I refused to look behind me. Okay, think," I muttered. "There has to be an explanation." That's when I noticed something. The storage room door. It was slightly open. I was sure I had closed it earlier. A slow, uneasy feeling crept over me. Was that always open? I took a cautious step toward it. The air near the doorway felt different, colder, heavier, like walking into a place that didn't want you there. I hesitated. Then, against my better judgment, I pushed the door open. The smell hit me first. Old, damp, like something had been sealed away for a long time. I reached for the light switch inside. It flickered once, twice, then turned on. The room was mostly empty, just a few leftover boxes stacked in the corner. Dust coated everything in a thin layer. I stepped inside slowly, my eyes scanning the space. That's when I saw it. A small wooden box, half hidden behind one of the larger cartons. My pulse quickened. Please don't be what I think it is. I crouched down, pulling it out. It was lighter than expected, the wood worn and scratched, like it had been handled a lot. My fingers hesitated on the lid. Every instinct told me not to open it, but curiosity pushed harder. I lifted it. Inside was a notebook, old, faded, the edges of the pages yellowed with time. On the cover, written in shaky handwriting, "If you found this, you waited too long." A chill ran straight down my spine. I swallowed hard and opened it. The first few pages were filled with messy, rushed writing. Dates were scribbled in the corners, but most of them were hard to read. I flipped to a clearer entry. Day 3. It only happens after 12:07. My breath caught. I turned the page. Day 5. It stands behind me. I can feel it breathing. My hands started trembling. Another page. Day 8. I made a mistake. I looked. My throat tightened. I shouldn't be reading this. But I couldn't stop. I kept flipping. The writing got worse. Messier. More frantic. Words scratched over each other. Sentences unfinished. Then I found one that made my stomach drop completely. It doesn't like being ignored. I froze. Slowly, very slowly, I became aware of something. The room felt smaller. Quieter. Too quiet. Like the silence itself was watching me. My grip tightened on the diary. "Hello," I whispered. No answer. But I wasn't alone. I knew that now. I could feel it again. Right behind me. Closer than ever before. And this time, it didn't feel like it was just standing there. It felt like it was leaning in, reading over my shoulder. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. And then, right next to my ear, a soft, almost curious whisper. "Keep reading." My blood ran cold. Because that voice wasn't coming from behind me anymore. It sounded like it was coming from inside my head. I didn't turn around. Not because I was brave, but because I couldn't. My body felt locked in place. Like if I made even the smallest movement, something irreversible would happen. The diary trembled in my hands, the pages slightly rustling even though there was no air moving in that room. "Keep reading." That voice, it echoed again, but not in the room. It was inside my head now. Clear, calm, patient, like it had all the time in the world. My throat felt tight, but somehow I forced my eyes back down to the page. The next entry was darker. The handwriting wasn't just messy anymore. It looked desperate, like the person writing it was losing control. Day 11. It learned my voice. A cold wave shot through me. "What?" I whispered under my breath. I flipped the page quickly. Day 14. It doesn't need the mirror anymore. My hands started shaking harder. No, no, no. Another page. Day 17. It talks like me now. The room suddenly felt suffocating. I swallowed, trying to steady my breathing, but it wasn't working. The next page was torn halfway, like someone had tried to rip it out but didn't finish. What remained was enough. If you're reading this, it already knows you. My heart slammed violently. "I'm leaving," I muttered, snapping the diary shut. "I'm done with this." I stood up too fast, nearly losing my balance. My head felt light, like the room was spinning. "Just walk out," I told myself. "Open the door. Leave. That's it. Simple." I took a step toward the door, then another. My hand reached for the handle, and stopped. Something felt wrong. Not outside. Inside. A thought, not mine. "Why are you leaving?" I froze. My fingers slowly tightened around the handle. "No," I'm not staying here, I whispered. Silence. Then, you stayed this long. My breath hitched. That voice again, inside my head. Calm, logical, sounding almost like me. I stepped back from the door, shaking my head. No, that's not. It's safer here. My thoughts stuttered. Safer? That didn't make any sense. I'm not safe here. I snapped, louder than I meant to. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then went completely still. And in that stillness, I heard it. A soft chuckle. Not behind me. Not in front of me. Everywhere. I grabbed the diary again, flipping it open frantically. There has to be something I missed. The last few pages were almost unreadable, scribbled over again and again like the writer was trying to overwrite their own thoughts. But one page stood out. It was written slowly, carefully, like it mattered more than anything else. I forced myself to read it. Final entry. My heart pounded in my ears. This is not a haunting. I swallowed. This is not a ghost. A cold dread settled deeper in my chest. It is something else. My fingers tightened on the page. It doesn't live in the house. The air around me felt heavier, harder to breathe. It lives in perception. My mind struggled to process that. What does that even mean? My eyes scanned the next line, and that's when everything started to make sense. In the worst way possible. It exists only when you acknowledge it. My breath caught. No. The moment you notice it. My hands went cold. You give it form. My vision blurred slightly. Stop. The moment you fear it. My heartbeat grew louder. You give it control. The room felt like it was closing in. And then the last line. The one that broke everything. The moment you understand it. I couldn't look away. It becomes you. Silence. Complete. Crushing silence. My grip on the diary loosened. It slipped from my hands and hit the floor. No, I whispered, stepping back. No, that's not possible. It is. I froze. That voice. It wasn't distorted anymore. It wasn't chushta or unnatural. It sounded exactly like me. Same tone, same rhythm, same voice. My breathing became uneven. You're not real, I said, trying to convince myself. Then why are you answering me? My mind went blank. I staggered back, my heel hitting the wall behind me. I'm imagining this. I have to be. You weren't. At first. My chest tightened painfully. What does that mean? There was a pause. Then, now you are. Something inside me snapped. Shut up, I yelled, grabbing my head. The room went completely still. Too still. Then slowly, very slowly, I felt something shift. Not outside. Inside. A thought forming. Clearer than before. Stronger. More stable. Turn around. My body moved slightly. I stopped myself. No. You already know what happens. My jaw clenched. I don't care. You do. My hand twitched. You've been looking at reflections. A chill ran through me. You've been thinking about me. My breathing slowed, but not from calm. From something else. You've been afraid. My resistance started slipping. No, I'm not. You are. My fingers curled slightly. And that's enough. Before I could stop myself, I turned. There was nothing there. Empty room. Still air. Silence. For a split second, relief flooded through me. Then I noticed something. I hadn't been facing it before, but now I was. The mirror. And in the reflection, someone was standing where I had just been. Perfectly still. Perfectly upright. Watching me. It looked exactly like me. Same face. Same expression. Same eyes. But something was off. Something subtle. Something wrong. I leaned closer, my breath shaky. The reflection didn't move. It just stared. Then, it smiled. Slowly. Wider than I ever could. My heart dropped into my stomach. No, I whispered. The reflection tilted its head slightly. And for the first time, it moved without me. I stumbled back, panic exploding in my chest. That's not me. That's not me. The thing in the mirror stepped forward. Not in the reflection, but closer to the glass. Like it was approaching the surface from the other side. My breathing broke completely. Stay back. It raised its hand and pressed it against the inside of the mirror. Exactly where my hand would be if I touched it. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because I realized something terrifying. I wasn't the one in control anymore. Slowly, unwillingly, my own hand started to lift. No, stop. But it didn't stop. It kept rising, matching the reflection. Closer, closer, until my palm touched the mirror. Cold, but not solid. It felt soft, like something on the other side was pushing back. My vision blurred. My thoughts started slipping. It's easier this way. My voice, not mine. Inside my head, everywhere. You don't have to be afraid anymore. My breathing slowed, not by choice. Just let go. The pressure increased. My hand sank slightly into the surface. That's when I understood. Too late. I wasn't looking at my reflection anymore. I was looking at what was about to replace me. And the worst part, I couldn't remember when I stopped being myself. My hand went deeper. Not all the way through, but enough. Enough to know that the surface wasn't glass anymore. It felt like something alive. Dense. Cold, but aware. I tried to pull back. I really did. But my arm didn't listen. It kept moving forward, inch by inch, like it belonged to something else now. My breathing slowed unnaturally, like my body was adjusting to something I didn't understand. No, stop. I whispered, but even my voice didn't sound right anymore. It felt distant, faint, like it was already leaving me. In the mirror, that thing, my face, but not me, watched calmly. No rush, no aggression, just patience, like it had done this before, like it knew exactly how this would end. It's okay, the voice said inside my head. My voice, perfectly copied. You've already crossed the line. My fingers were gone now, swallowed by the surface. I couldn't feel them anymore. Panic surged again. No, I'm still here. I'm still. The thought cut off. For a second, I forgot what I was trying to say. My mind slipped, like a word on the tip of your tongue that suddenly disappears. See, it whispered. You're fading. My chest tightened. I tried to step back, but my legs barely responded. The room felt distant now, muted, unreal. The only thing that felt clear was the mirror and the thing inside it. It leaned closer from the other side, its smile widening just slightly. You don't have to fight this, it said. You've been tired for a while, haven't you? A strange calm started creeping in. That was the worst part. The fear didn't explode. It dissolved, like my mind was being slowly convinced that this was okay, that this was normal, that this was easier. My arm was halfway in now, then my wrist, then my elbow. I tried one last time to resist, to hold on to something. My name, my memories, anything. Zahir, I whispered, like saying it would anchor me. For a moment it worked. A flash. My room, my life, everything I knew. I'm Zahir, I said louder this time. The thing in the mirror tilted its head, and for the first time, its expression changed. Not anger, not fear, something else. Amusement. Not for long. My vision flickered, like a signal breaking. The room glitched, walls stretching slightly, shadows bending in impossible ways. My thoughts started overlapping, confusing, fragmented. Then, black. Silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in the room, perfectly still, perfectly calm. Everything looked normal. The mirror was just a mirror again. My hand was fine. No pain. No marks. For a few seconds, I just stood there, breathing steadily. Then I blinked. What was I doing? My voice sounded normal. Completely normal. I looked around, slightly confused, like I had walked into a room and forgotten why. Then my eyes landed on something. The floor. A diary. Old. Worn. I frowned and bent down, picking it up. I don't remember this. I turned it over in my hands. Something about it felt familiar. Uncomfortably familiar. But I couldn't place it. I opened it. The pages were filled with messy writing. Rushed. Panicked. Like someone had been trying to warn themselves of something. I flipped through quickly, my brow tightening. What is this? Then I reached the last page. The most recent entry. The ink looked fresh, still slightly wet. I read it slowly. 12:07 a.m. It happened again. A faint uneasiness stirred inside me. Again, I kept reading. It's not in the mirror anymore. My grip on the diary tightened slightly. A strange feeling crept up my spine. It's outside now. I swallowed. Outside. Then the last line, written carefully, deliberately, as if the writer wanted to make absolutely sure it was understood. It's pretending to be me. I went completely still. Something shifted in my chest. A tiny crack in that calm. That doesn't make sense, I said quietly. But my voice lagged. Just a fraction of a second. Like an echo that didn't match. I frowned. No, that's just. Then I noticed something. My reflection. I hadn't realized I was standing in front of the mirror again. But I was. And in it, I saw myself. Looking back. Perfectly normal. Perfectly still. Too still. I raised my hand slightly. The reflection copied me. Perfect sync. Perfect match. I let out a small breath. See? Nothing's wrong. I almost laughed. Almost. Then I stopped. Because I realized something. I didn't remember last night clearly. Not fully. Just fragments. Pieces. Like something was missing. Like something had been replaced. A slow, uncomfortable thought formed in my mind. What if? I stepped closer to the mirror. My reflection did the same. I leaned in. So did it. Our faces inches apart now. Identical. Except for one thing. Something so small. Most people wouldn't notice. But I did. Because I wasn't trying to scare myself anymore. I was trying to understand. My reflection blinked. I didn't. My breath caught instantly. I froze. Completely. Slowly. Very slowly. The reflection's lips began to move. But no sound came out. Not at first. Just silent words. Carefully formed. Deliberate. I stared, my heart starting to race again. What? Then, a whisper. Not from the room. Not from behind me. From everywhere. And nowhere. Perfectly clear. Perfectly calm. My voice. But not mine. Now you remember.